All right, so it's Jets and Browns tonight at the Hall of Fame game. We bring in our HQ Hall of Famers, Pete Prisco and Rick Spielman. They are live at Bucs camp. They'll be talking to some of the Bucs big-time players a little bit later, but let's start with the Hall of Fame game tonight, guys. Pete, I'm sure Rick's told you many times, grew up in the shadows of Canton and the NFL Hall of Fame, the Football Hall of Fame, and this game, which, Rick, you played in, not literally, but you were a general manager of the Vikings when they played in 2015. So tell us, how do you approach this game?
Well, as a front office guy, you don't want to get any of your starters hurt, so you don't play all your starters in this extra game. But you get an opportunity to see your young guys and guys that are on the bubble, especially on special teams. That's a big decision maker on whether they're going to stay with the 53 or whether they're going to get cut. As a kid growing up in the area, it was an exciting time. You got a chance to go see all these big pro football players. You had an opportunity. Your parents let you out late at night so you can go set up your lawn chair so you can get a premier seating at the Hall of Fame parade.
You took the Edsel on over in the 40s and saw the Hall of Fame game. I love it. It's just what a good family should do, is go watch the Hall of Fame. Look, I've been there twice. I covered a game there once way back in the day, the Jacksonville Jaguars' first game. I was there last year when Tony Baselli went in. It is a fantastic weekend. It really is. The game doesn't matter. It matters for guys who are playing in the NFL for the first time. Keep an eye on that. Young players, see how they adjust to the speed of the game, because it's different. Training camp is one thing. You get in the game, it's different. Other than that, none of it matters.
Now, old guy not playing. Aaron Rodgers not going to play in the Hall of Fame game tonight. Rick, how much would you want to see him, not tonight, but in the preseason, knowing that he's still acclimating to a new team?
Yeah, it depends, and I think they're working against other teams. So to me, where the trend is going in the NFL right now is those veterans getting an opportunity to get full team work at 100% against another team in a controlled environment and in these combined practices. If you can get that, get your team ready for the opening week, then you don't have to play your starters in a preseason game.
I wouldn't play him at all in the preseason. And I remember talking to Phillip Rivers a couple years ago, and he said, look, we go work out against the team. I get way more reps than I would in the preseason game. It gives me much more value. There's no real contact. There's no hitting. It's safer, so I think from that standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. Don't play your starting quarterback. Maybe a little bit, but Aaron Rodgers, you don't need to play him at all.
Now, Zach Wilson is going to start tonight for the New York Jets. Again, Deshaun Watson not playing for the Browns, but one guy who will play, and will play for the first time in nearly 2 years, is Mekhi Becton. Week 1 of 2021 is the last time we saw him on the field when Rick was still with the Vikings, Pete.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Look, Mekhi Becton has a ton of talent, but he had injuries, and he also got out of shape. And he comes to camp this year, and he's lost 50 pounds, and you can see it. If he is dedicated to the craft, I know it takes some guys a little bit of time to realize what you have to do to become an NFL player. It's taken him a little time, but the talent is there. This is a big moment for him. When you get back out on the field after an injury, after struggling with your weight, he's got to try and win that left tackle job. Dwayne Brown's probably going to be the left tackle, but it's an opportunity for him.
But not only him, for the New York Jets and their offense, the biggest concern is they have all these playmakers around Aaron Rodgers. They have Aaron Rodgers, but can that offensive line hold up? And he's going to be a key whether he can perform or not.
Yeah, it's left tackle and right tackle for Becton. He's getting a lot of work at right tackle as well.
Rick, who's lost more weight this offseason, Becton or Prisco?
Well, Prisco, you can see him. He's like shrunk. He didn't get any taller, but he did get skinnier.
I got taller. I'm standing on the box.
Yeah.
I got a lot taller.
Standing on a foot-tall box, and he's still shorter than Rick. But you look good, Pete. Look great out there. Nick Chubb expected to look great in the regular season, but he's not playing tonight. Not sure if we're going to see much of him at all in the preseason. But they have to figure out who goes behind him. Kareem Hunt is gone. Pete, who do you see getting that second spot and getting a share of those carries?
Jerome Ford, and I think it's going to be a good opportunity for him to show what I think he can do. I loved him coming out. He came out of Cincinnati, ripped off a lot of big runs. He's a strong physical guy. I think he fits with their scheme. I think he's the guy. Felton, when you look at him, is more of a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield. He was on my Better Than team 2 years ago. Felton, he was a running back. They played him at receiver. He's back to playing full-time running back. But I think it's Ford who gets the carries, backing up Nick Chubb.
Yeah, and what you're seeing now in the NFL is this running back by committee, and there's no question that Nick, can I explain? Nick Chubb is going to get a majority of the carries, but you have to have quality backups. You're going with quality backups that are a lot cheaper that you can afford under the cap.
Pete Prisco, you came out with your list of bounce-back teams this upcoming season, and the Browns are one of those teams. I was surprised to see how high they were in your power rankings, into the teens. Why do you expect Cleveland, with a win total of 9.5, to be so much better this year than last? I guess outside of Deshaun Watson hopefully playing an entire season. And what do you expect that to look like? Is this a playoff team?
I think they can be a playoff team. I'm not necessarily picking them right now to be a playoff team because I think that division is brutal, but when I make my actual picks, they might be. Here's why. Watson's not going to be nearly as bad as he was a year ago. When you looked at what he did, he missed the entire, work during most of that season, then came back, they threw him in and said, go play. It's hard to do. I don't care who you are. I think he'll be better, but they added pieces on defense. I think getting Tomlinson on the defensive line is big for them. They had trouble against the run. I think they're going to be better on defense. And one thing that hurt them last year, Rick, the offensive line had a bunch of injuries. That was the strength of their team. They had a bunch of injuries. It was a weakness last year.
Yeah, it's all going to depend on Deshaun Watson if he can get back to form, which he should be able to. But my question to you, Pete, is if they're a bounce-back team, shouldn't they be in the playoffs?
Well, they might be. I just haven't made my pick yet.
Well, I know, but then they're not a bounce-back
Don't
team.
rush me. I got a couple more weeks.
Pete Prisco and Rick Spielman in mid-season form here at training camps. They have much more from Bucs camp a little bit later, talking to some of Tampa's stars as we look ahead to the Hall of Fame game tonight in Canton, Jets and Browns. Pick 6 podcast, latest episode, the top 6 storylines of training camp so far.